What's up, everybody? John Eric Poli here with My MMA News, and today's guest just defeated Mazer by a unanimous decision at Invicta FC 50. Pleased today to once again be joined by Danni McCormack. Danny, nice to see you.
Hey, nice to see you. How are you getting on?
Good, Danny. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it as always. And there's a lot to break down with this fight, and we're gonna kind of get to everything in some fashion here. So let's start here. For you, this was your first fight in the United States, kind of a long time coming for you. Just what was the whole United States experience like? And I'm sure you're gonna want to fight here again someday.
Yeah, it was great. So, like, first of all, I love traveling to a fight. So I like going away to fight. It's easy, like, get switched on and get focused for the fight, just being away at a hotel. So, and going on a plane, it makes it feel like really real. So I love going away to fight. So going to the States was great. And then secondly, going to the States makes you feel like you're really progressing in your career, that like you're heading towards the big show. So yeah, that felt good too. I thought this could be it for me from now on. I could be just fighting in the States for the rest of my career, and I think that's pretty cool. Pretty happy about that.
All right, so yeah, definitely. I know the United States is a big thing for any fighter over in Europe to come over for, and we're definitely going to want to see a fight here again for sure. With that being said, too, though, this was actually another, I guess you could say, a difficult thing for you because it was your third fight this year in a third different promotion. That's extremely difficult to do. So first off, I guess, what was it like fighting in Invicta, number one? And then number two, just talk about that whole process of having a year where you're booking fights in different promotions. Each promotion does things differently. It's a pretty difficult thing to do. I don't think a lot of people realize how difficult that is to do.
Yeah, so like my first fight this year was with Bellator, and I'd been with them for 5 fights, so I, knew what was going on there, and I was pretty comfortable with that promotion. And then after that fight, I was really keen to get back in and try to get back into the winning column again. So I just took a fight in Malta. Then my manager sorted everything out. So my manager Dave Fish in Paradigm sorted everything out, headed over to Malta and fought there. Definitely a bit different than the Bellator setup, but I've hustled as an amateur, so I know what it's like to be on different shows too. So yeah, I was fine with that. And then after that show, I decided to move on past Bellator. They'd been really good to me. They'd given me all my opportunities at the start of my career, but I really wanted to get into a promotion that had a division, had a title shot, and also like a stepping stone towards the UFC, where I suppose most fighters want to end up at some stage of their career in the UFC. So I spoke to Dave, my manager, and we knew that we needed to move on from Bellator. And there was options with LFA, with Kombacha, and with Invicta. So Dave got on it, and Invicta pretty much jumped at it, and we're really interested in getting me matched and signing me for a multi-fight deal. So I was super happy being in Invicta. There's lots of people that have gone through Invicta that have ended up in the UFC, like so many, pretty much all their champions end up in the UFC. So it's a real surefire entry point for me to get into the UFC. But even before that, I'm really happy to fight for Invicta on a really cool all women's promotion. Shannon's really nice. The promotion's class. They do really good job at marketing people, and the production is amazing. So yeah, I'm super impressed to be in Invicta now. Can't say enough about Bellator, how good they were for me, but I am where I need to be right now.
Yeah, and like you said, Invicta really is a great promotion. That is a feeder system into the UFC. So with now that being said, obviously the next goal is to track down the title in Invicta to get into the UFC. Like you said, that is kind of the next step there. And you obviously made a great case as to getting a future title shot here with Invicta. So let's break down this performance, and then we'll get into the future stuff here. We'll start with the opening round where you really, you laid on a lot of heavy shots on her. I guess first, did you think that she was in trouble? Did you think you were going to finish her off there? Were you surprised she made it through that round? And just kind of your thoughts on how it all played out. I know one judge scored a 10-8 for you. It was a pretty dominant start for the fight for you.
Yeah, so like I went into the fight with the intentions of hitting hard, taking her down and finishing her on the floor. Like in the back of my mind in my last few fights, I always have known that I am well able to strike and that I do hit really hard. I know I hit hard because anytime I hit somebody, I can see their facial expression. In particular, in fights, I see their facial expression when they get hit with the 4-ounce gloves. So, I guess there's like a myth that I'm not a striker and I'm an excellent grappler and that I should just grapple and stay in my lane. But I haven't been trying to prove a point in my last few fights. But in my last few fights, I have struck more and it has worked out and it hasn't worked out. So I wasn't surprised when I hit her that I hurt her at all. And I was quite happy to stay standing and to keep trying to finish the fight at that point. But she shot in for the takedown at the perfect point. I think if I landed just 2 more strikes, the fight would have been over. The ref was right beside me, really anxious, trying to jump in. So she shot at the perfect time. She's a veteran. She knows what she's doing. And she brought the fight to the floor. When we hit the floor, I didn't get disheartened. I got a bit tired and I got a bit of lactic acid in my arms after going wild for 30 seconds. But I didn't mind. I was like, oh, grand, we're on the floor. This is where I wanted to go anyway. So let's just have fun now and try and get a submission, try and land some elbows. So that was kind of what I thought throughout that round. I wasn't a bit disheartened. It would have been nice to finish her, but, it was a hell of a lot better of a result for me to showcase my skills. So in the next round, she came out, shot on me, got on my back, and I had to show my resilience and my toughness and my jiu-jitsu defense skills for that whole round, keep my cool together. And then in the final round, really nailing on the head that I was the more dominant fighter and that I could grapple and strike. So I think it was a perfect result. I know getting a highlight reel finish is like the promotions kind of ideal scenario. But for me as a fighter who's just lost 2 fights in a row, I got to show how hard I hit, how I can nearly finish people. I got to show how resilient I am through adversity. And I got to show how well-rounded I am on the ground as well. So perfect. It was like a great day in the office.
So you did a great breakdown of the fight there. One of the things that I caught that you said you thought in the first round that you were maybe about 2 more strikes away from finishing that fight. Is there any part of it? I know you're very happy with the performance. You get to showcase a lot how well-rounded you are and whatnot. But is there any part of you that's like, damn, I just landed those 2 strikes and got her out of there? I'm sure probably a lot of fighters would like to have a quicker, easier night in the office than going the full distance of a fight.
Yeah, like looking back on it now, if I had just took a second and I took a half a step back and I hit her a big shot to the body, she wouldn't have shot for the takedown then. So I needed to hit her to the body. I just headhunted a bit. So there was maybe 3 strikes before she shot the takedown. I needed to hit her to the body, and that would have ended the fight because she would have dropped her hands and then she would have took a big shot over the top and the ref would have stopped it. So that was technically what I should have done. If the fight had been stopped then, I would have ran around the cage like a lunatic, had a great time, been so happy with myself. So I wouldn't have been upset. But at the same time now, I'm really happy with what actually went down because, I had to dig deep in that second round and I had to really want to be there. And I 100% wanted to be there. And that was something really important for my mindset, especially after coming off 2 losses. If I had any weakness in my mind at that point, it would have been easy tap or easy quit. And I had no quit in me. So I know it was the right thing to happen.
And speaking of those 2 losses, I do want to go there now to right after the fight. Just what were the emotions like for you after the fight? You get your name announced that you're the winner. Obviously, the way the year started out, dropping 2 fights, I'm sure there had to be a lot of emotions in that moment in time that you were able to come back from that and get a big win to end the year and give you a lot of momentum going forward here for 2023.
You know, one of like I had two of my goals in the fight. There was like loads of technical goals, but two of my goals in the fight were number one, have fun, remember why you love fighting. And one of my last goals, I had like 5 goals, and my number 5 goal was don't fall apart if it doesn't go my way. Don't have a mental breakdown. It was actually a goal. Don't get too upset. So when the fight was over, I was pretty confident I'd won, but I was pretty confident I'd won my last fight, and I got done with a split decision, which I think I won that fight. But judges sometimes see things differently than how the fighter feels the fight's going themselves. So I thought I'd won the fight on Wednesday, but I had a little chat with myself and I said, if you didn't win the fight, you're really happy with your performance, and that's all that matters. So no meltdown now. We're not going to have a meltdown. You're going to be fine. So that was what I said in my head initially was, I'm so happy with myself. I got through adversity. If they say I've lost, you know what? I'm just unlucky in my last 2 fights that's the way the judges see it. And I'm going to move forward. So that was my initial reaction. When I found out that I had actually won, then yeah, I just felt so happy. I didn't feel relieved because I've taken all the pressure off my shoulders. There's no relief anymore. I'm just happy to be happy and enjoying myself and enjoying the fight. So I just felt a real sense of satisfaction and happiness when I found out I actually had one.
All right, so now let's go on to what's next here for you. You had mentioned in your post-fight interview inside of the cage there, you're paying obviously very close attention to the tournament. I know you were pulling for Karolina Wojcik to get the win there. She ended up falling in the finals there. But just your thoughts, I guess, on number one, how that tournament played out, and is that what's next? Is that what you definitely want? Is the winner of the tournament? Is that what Invicta wants? Kind of what's, I guess, the game plan going forward here with the promotion?
Like, I watched all the fights of the tournament because backstage I was watching them out of the corner of my eye as well. And I thought that all 4 girls fought very conservatively, and fought like they didn't want to lose rather than they wanted to win. And it's easy for me to say, who just had one fight on the night and didn't have this opportunity of a belt. Maybe I would have done the same. But I felt like the first fights of the tournament, they were all a little bit conservative and making sure they were just a little bit ahead on the scorecards rather than like going and getting it. You know, no one tried to finish a fight in that first round. That's probably clever as well, though, because they didn't take a lot of damage. So the 2 girls that got through then, Valeska and Karolina, I thought they'd go at it. I thought right now they're going to wake up and they're going to go for it. But again, they fought quite conservatively. They were probably tired, maybe a bit sore. Both of them looked like they didn't want to lose the fight. They were trying to get a couple of scores off here and there. Valeska was on the back foot and Karolina was trying to push the action. But in my opinion, my fight with Myra was way more exciting, and we both went out really, really trying to win. So I feel like if I had been in the tournament and that Danni that showed up on Wednesday night showed up, then I think I would have tried to win and tried to finish. I wasn't like overly impressed with the tournament, but look, I wasn't in it, so I'm not going to have too big of an opinion. In terms of who won that fight, between the 2 girls, it didn't really matter to me watching it because I feel like I can beat both of them. I fought Karolina before. She's a friend of mine. You know, I have so much respect for her. I'd love a rematch between me and Karolina, but I think I have a more well-rounded game and I probably get to fight to the floor and win. No disrespect to Karolina, she's a hell of a fighter and I have a lot of respect for her. And then from Valeska's point of view, she's a good boxer on the back foot. She shoots a takedown if she feels uncomfortable, but didn't show me that she was dangerous the other night. I know she has shown more power in previous fights. I think she's also a great matchup for me. I don't think she's got a lot for me on the ground. And then from the striking standpoint, I can definitely deal with her style, that kind of standoffish counter striking style. She doesn't throw a lot of volume. So Anyway, I'm rambling on. Basically, I think I could have won the tournament the other night, and I really believe that I deserve a shot at this title. There was nobody else on the night that was as exciting as my fight. I happen to be a strawweight. I happen to have a 6-2 record, so I've had plenty of fights that I'm well able to be a champion right now. So I think I'm the obvious answer to sticking that title shot. Who else is out there? If you're out there, put your hands up. But I don't see anybody else there apart from me that should get that shot.
Well, I'll tell you what, you definitely make one good case for it, and at least there's a lot of things on the table there with Invicta. It has everything kind of going in a great spot for you going forward here. I guess just to end today, I know you have to go into the gym here, so I'll kind of wrap this up fairly quickly. I find it pretty interesting, if I heard this correctly in the broadcast, if I didn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you used to be into, were you an equestrian? Was that, you used to do the horseback riding and all that? That's pretty cool. How did you exactly get into doing that first off? And I know that the way how things ended with that was kind of sad. I guess for anybody that's out there who never heard this before, explain the whole story, because I find it pretty interesting how you used to be an equestrian before coming over to be a fighter.
Yeah, so I rode horses since I was like 4 or 5. So I had like a 20-year horse riding career from that small age until I was 25. I did everything in terms of horses. So anyone that rides horses out there, I pretty much did everything. So I did show jumping, eventing, cross country, hunt chasing, and I ended up in the horse racing industry at the end of my career. So I decided at 25, after I had made like a real shot at going for it to try to be a female jockey, I realized that this really wasn't going to happen for me. I'd rode in a couple of races, but I wasn't at the level to compete with the lads and to compete with the highest level girls either. It was a really difficult industry to break into. And if you weren't extremely skilled and had some connections in the sport, it really was a no go zone. So I ended up breaking my pelvis in 2 years before I quit the horses, and that was what made me go to college and do a degree in physiotherapy. It wasn't from the fall that I ended up quitting instantly. I got back from the fall and I rode for a few more years, but it was a big wake up call that I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life. I can't be going out, riding out in all weather on these horses, these really highly trained race horses, not like happy hackers, not ponies. I was on these like really high performing race horses. I can't, this isn't a sport for someone going into their 30s or 40s. It's a young man's game, really. So I decided I was going to leave. I was going to finish up, and 2 of my best horses died that particular year. So the chances of me competing myself was now really limited because my 2 best horses died. So I decided I would leave. And when I decided I would leave, I hit like a depression in my life, and I downloaded Tinder. And I said, right, I'm going to get myself a man, and that'll make everything better, sort my life out. So when I downloaded Tinder, I swiped a fighter, an MMA fighter. And he's actually a teammate of mine now in Dublin. He's a professional fighter. So when I met him, he said, told me about Conor McGregor, about SBG Ireland, about MMA. I'd never heard of any of it because I was just stuck head deep in the horse racing industry. So then I joined a gym like 2 days later, and I loved it. I rolled with a bunch of Polish lads for 2 hours, and I thought, this is great. I'm going to be an MMA fighter. I'm going to be a world champion at MMA. And the rest is history. The guy that I swiped, is nothing happened with us after that date, other than he gave me all this information and like set a fire underneath me. And I'm now married to my striking coach. So yeah, my whole life changed from that one Tinder interaction. I went from horse racing to professional MMA fighter, and that's 7 years later now. I'm 6-2 pro and a silver medalist in the IMAFs.
How about the Tinder app there? It's supposed to make everybody fall in love. No, instead it's getting people different jobs and finding new professions. That's pretty awesome. That's a great story there.
I know, they should sponsor me.
Seriously, for real. We get the Tinder logo on your shorts or on your top there. Well, we should make it work. We'll send Tinder this interview, see if they can help you out there. That is quite
Yeah.
the story.
If
All right,
Dave is
Danny,
watching
appreciate the
this,
time
he
as
needs.
always. It's great catching up with you. I know you have to run off to the gym. So, just one last thing before you head out, social media, management, sponsors, anybody got to give shout outs to? Floor is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, so the main thing I use is Instagram. So you'll find me Danny McCormack on Instagram, and you'll find me on Twitter under the same name as well. Then massive shout out to Dave Fish, my manager from Paradigm, and to my sponsors, Ross Nutrition, NDC, and the sports dietitian, who is also my brother. So yeah, massive thank you to all them for supporting me always, and especially to Dave, who like signed me when I was 5-0. And then we went through that rough spot earlier in this year. And he was always so encouraging, regardless of how things were going for me. So I really appreciate Dave and his support. Whether you're up or down, he's got your back. So he's the best manager in the sport.
All right, Danny, thanks again for all the time. Really appreciate it. It's always great catching up with you. I know it's been a minute since we did one of these interviews, so it was really nice to be able to get the whole year full circle here and kind of catch up with everything. Just one last thing before I head out today. Just want to remind all the fans out there that I appreciate your time. If you like today's interview, please do me a favor. Make sure to go to the bottom, give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And keep going to My MMA News, checking out all of our great work. Go to our social media pages, give us a like and a follow on there as well. We'll see you later, everybody.